There are decisions that people make not out of selfishness, not out of greed, but out of a love so desperate and so raw that in that particular moment, no other option feels possible. This story begins with exactly that kind of decision. And everything. Every twist, every heartbreak, every beautiful and painful thing that follows, flows directly from one night that was never supposed to happen the way it did. A young woman was watching her mother die. Not slowly, not peacefully, but in the kind of urgent, terrifying way where every passing hour feels like a countdown. She needed money. Not for something small, not for something that could wait. She needed it immediately, and she needed enough of it to save the only person in the world who meant everything to her. She had no connections, no resources, and no time left for careful planning. So she made a choice that no woman should ever have to make. She decided to sell the one thing she had left to give. But fate, as it often does, had other plans entirely. The room she entered that night was not the room she was supposed to be in. The man inside was not who she expected. He was unconscious, completely unaware of her presence, unaware of her desperation, unaware that the two of them were about to become connected in a way that neither of them could have predicted or prepared for. His name was Julian Hart, and one night in that room changed the entire course of both their lives. She left before dawn. She didn't stay to explain, didn't wait to see what the morning would bring. She took with her something small but significant, half of a jade pendant. Perhaps she didn't fully understand why she took it. Perhaps some part of her knew even then that it mattered, that it was a thread connecting her to something she couldn't yet name. She disappeared into her life, carrying that small piece of jade and the weight of everything that night had been. And then things got worse. Much worse. Her own brother, the person who should have stood beside her, turned against her. He set a trap. He constructed a story around her, a false accusation of murder, built carefully enough to hold. And she, already exhausted and already carrying more than any one person should carry, found herself unable to fight it. She was convicted. She went to prison for something she did not do, framed by someone who shared her blood, and chose betrayal anyway. But inside those prison walls, something happened that broke the story open in a completely different direction. She discovered she was pregnant, and months later, in conditions no mother should ever have to endure, she gave birth to a little girl. Small, early, fragile, and completely perfect. She named her Lily, and before anything else could be taken from her, she made sure of one thing. She placed the half-jade pendant around her daughter's neck and held on for as long as she was allowed to. That pendant was not just jewelry. It was a message. It was a mother saying, "Someone out there has the other half of this. Find them. Let them find you. Let this tiny piece of stone do what I cannot." 6 years passed. Lily grew into exactly the kind of child who makes the world stop and pay attention. There was something about her, something in her face, something in the way she carried herself, that made people look twice. And when Julian Hart and his mother crossed paths with this little girl, they felt it immediately. That pull. That inexplicable sense of recognition that hits you somewhere deeper than logic can reach. The jade pendant around her neck made the feeling impossible to ignore. What followed was not simple. It never is when years of silence and separation have built walls between people who were always meant to find each other. There were misunderstandings thick enough to feel like permanent barriers. There were moments when the truth came so close to the surface and then slipped back under. There was pain on every side, not just hers, not just his, but the quiet ache of a child who had grown up with half a story and deserved the whole one. But broken hearts, when they are truly meant to heal, find their way back. Not perfectly, not without scars, but back nonetheless. Every wall eventually came down. Every misunderstanding eventually cleared. And the two halves of that jade pendant, separated by 7 years, by prison walls, by betrayal, by silence, finally came together again. Half a pendant, a whole heart, and a love story that took the long way home, but arrived exactly where it was always supposed to.